What's going on? This is Kareem from DJBooth.net, and I'm here in the lab to give you guys a full video and written review of the new Traktor Kontrol X1 MK2. So if you guys remember, a few years ago, the Traktor Kontrol X1, the first edition, came out, and it's very similar to this MK2 that we have in front of us here. I never actually had the original X1 for myself. The review was done on DJBooth.net by our CEO, Dave, and he basically still has his X1. He still loves it to this day. But I'm going to do the review of the Traktor Kontrol X1 MK2 as a fresh add-on DJ controller for either your digital vinyl setup with external timecode decks, or with an auxiliary DJ controller or a main DJ controller that controls Traktor. This is a class-compliant MIDI controller, so you can actually program it to work with any DJ software of your choice. But for the basis of this review, we're going to use the Traktor Kontrol X1 MK2 with Traktor as it was intended. So setup is fairly easy. All you have to do is plug in the USB port, and as long as you updated the latest version of the Traktor Pro 2 software, then you will be able to automatically plug and play, and this is already recognized, already programmed, and ready to go. For the first impressions, you have a very nice build quality, same size and dimensions as your F1 and your original X1 and your Z1. And you can also use these hard cases, and all the soft cases and stands will still work with your X1 MK2, as the sizes are exactly the same. It's a great modular controller, good to be used with a Z1, as we'll show you in this video, or again with another full-size controller that controls Traktor, so you can get your additional functions, or on top of that you can use it with a DVS system with a mixer and external decks. Some of the quick differences between this and the original X1: you have a new touch strip pad here that lets you do things like loops, effects controls, browse through your tracks, a lot of different functions with the touch strip. And instead of having two browse controls, you now have your single browse control in the middle, which allows you to load the decks by using the two arrows on the side. And you also have your quick readout, which shows you the length of the loop that the loop is currently in. You also have your RGB backlit multicolored pads here for your first 4 cue points, and then there's a flux mode and a sync mode and master button also on the X1 MK2. So let's take a look at the computer. We're going to hook it up and show you what we got. Okay, so here is the X1 MK2 unit alongside a Traktor Kontrol Z1. This is the 2-channel modular mixer. This works for both Traktor DJ iOS devices, and it also works for your regular Traktor Pro 2 software or your Traktor LE software. It's just a mixing console. So next to this you have another controller that can be used as a modular controller. This is the X1 MK2, and you can also use a Traktor Kontrol F1, which can control your remix decks. You can put that alongside here, and you have a nice compact and modular setup. These are just the tops that actually encase the units after you put them inside of their controller stands, and they're sitting off to the right. You can also use the Traktor Kontrol X1 with a digital vinyl software setup. That way you have your timecode decks, and you can use this to control all of your different functions that the timecode deck perhaps does not have. So first thing we're going to do is connect the X1. Okay, so as soon as we plug in the X1, you can tell that it's trying to ask me which decks do you want it to control. You can go A, B, C, D, C, A, or B and D. For the purpose of the review, we'll do A and B. So as soon as we want to select those two decks, we press the button, and now we're ready to go. First up, we'll start with the browse controls. The browse encoder is a touch-sensitive encoder, meaning as soon as I press it, you'll notice that the screen actually changes the view, and the view goes into a library view mode. That way you can go up and down within your library, and it has a nice view for you, just in case you want to see more of your tracks when you're actually in the browse mode. As soon as you let go of the encoder, you go back to your normal view within Traktor. So you can turn that on and off within the preferences of Traktor, but for now we'll keep it on. And when you're ready to load a track, all you have to do is select left arrow for the left deck or the right arrow for the right deck. So we'll load up the track. Also, with the browse function, if you press shift and browse, you can now go through your different folders and playlists on the left hand side, and you can also select and go in and select the track that you need. So now that we have the track selected and loaded, you can easily play and cue the track.
I can be a freak. 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 I can be a freak.
So you got play, pause. You also have your cue button, and then you have your hot cues up top. Your hot cues are different colors depending on where they are, or depending on what type of cue it is. These are RGB buttons, so they are backlit, multicolored, and you have different colors depending on the type of cue point that you have. If you have a loop cue point, it will be one color. Your first cue point will be this white color. Your regular cue points, I believe, are a blue color. So you have all your cue points set up and ready to go. Next up, you have your sync and your flux mode. Sync is just what it says. You can sync your two decks automatically. If you click shift and sync, you set that deck up as the master deck, and the other deck will mimic or sync to the master deck. Next up, you have your flux button and your tap. Your flux is very similar to the slip mode found on the Pioneer CDJs and some of their controllers. Basically, within Traktor, the new 2.6 offers flux mode, and with flux mode you are allowed to let a track play, and you can do things like loops and different cue points and manipulate the track while the track still plays underneath had you not done any manipulation to the track. So I'll show you a quick example of that.
I can be a freak. 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 This is something that I love. Listen, I'm about every single word. Raise that in the. Don't be scared.
Alright, that's a demo of the flux mode, and now that we took you through most of the features on the bottom part of the controller, we'll take you now to the middle section, which has the actual touch strip and the rest of the loop controls also in there. So the new addition is the new windows and the touch strip. The new windows show you the length of the loop that you're currently in, so that way when you start your loop encoder, you will know exactly how long the loop is going to last. Next up, you have your touch strip controller. You use this touch strip to nudge and to fast forward and to slow down tracks in order to beat match. The left side of the touch strip is used for the left deck, and the right side of the touch strip is used for the right deck. So you can use this in place of your digital vinyl setup, or in place of your other controller that you may be using with the X1, and you can just do all of your beat matching, your nudging, and your slowing down right here on the touch strip, similar to what's found on the Novation Twitch. So let me show you a quick example of that.
Don't be shy, yes, you gotta let it free. I can give it.
As you can see, I'm slowing down the track, and this is speeding up the track. In order to make the full touch strip act as one deck, you can just grab the touch strip and move it over. Now the whole touch strip controls the left deck, and if you grab it and move it over again, now it controls the whole right deck. So we'll grab it, put it back in the middle for now. Next up, if you press shift and you move along the deck, you're allowed to go and use the touch strip for like a needle drop. That way you can go all the way through your entire track and get right to maybe a breakdown or a point you want to get to, and then you can start playing right from there. Also, when holding down shift and you're pressing your loop encoder, you can jump through the track depending on how many bars you're jumping through. So you can jump through by quarter bar, we can jump through the track by 2 bars. If we hold shift and we go through, we can just jump through the track 2 bars at a time. Next up, you can also use the touch strip to control your loops. So if we're playing the actual loop, or we're ready to play the loops using the touch strip, all we have to do is hold the middle of the touch strip and you press your loop encoder that you want to activate with the touch strip. Now we can use the touch strip to activate our loops. I'll show you really quickly. So the farther left you go with your loop, the shorter the loop is, and the farther right you go with your loop, the longer the loop grows. And when you want to take out of that mode, you just press your loop encoder. Next up in this section, we have your FX buttons, FX Bank 1 and Bank 2. You can turn them on and off for each individual deck. And up top we have your FX controls, which is very similar to the FX controls found on the original X1. We have your top FX and mode button. This way you can switch between your triple effect mode or your single effect mode if you press shift and the effect button. You can turn on your effects by pressing FX1, FX2, FX3, and if you press shift and hold and press these buttons, you go through your different style of effect. Scroll through all your effects here and you get the exact one you want, and then you're ready to go. You can also control your effects using the touch strip. In order to do that, again, you hold the middle of the touch strip and you select the effect you want to use with the touch strip. Now your whole effect parameter is adjusted by the touch strip. Show you a quick example. And again, shut that off. Just click the middle and you click your effect. Okay, on a side note, you can also control the top 4 places of your remix decks. If you select remix decks as your control decks, your first 4 positions of your cue points will play your top 4 remix decks. Right now I don't have any remix decks set up. I don't really use them like that, so there's none on the screen. But I assure you, these first 4 controls will control the first 4 banks of your remix deck. So in conclusion, the Traktor Kontrol X1 MK2 is an excellent addition to anybody's tractor setup who wants all of these new and neat advanced features that the new Traktor Pro software includes, such as flux mode. You got your sync and your master right on board. You also have a cool new touch strip that allows you to nudge and to get the BPM and the beat just right for beat matching. You can also scroll through your track using the touch strip. You can also work your effects and work your loop encoders all with the touch strip as well. You also have your new readout on the actual loop, so you know exactly where you are within the loop, and you still have all the same functions that was included in the original X1. And on top of that, you still have a nice solid foundation of build quality that NI has grown to know. On the downside, this does not come with any software whatsoever. So if you are buying this right out of the box and you're hoping to just use this with something that it comes with, it doesn't come with any DJ software, so you already have to have Traktor Pro 2 set up on your computer and ready to go. Another minor gripe with this unit is that it doesn't work with Traktor DJ or any of the iOS devices. This is just for the full Traktor Pro 2 software that is on your computer or any other DJ software that you see fit to program it to. Other than that, you have a really good DJ controller here for any Traktor user who's using a DVS setup or who's using a modular style setup as we showed you with the Z1. They're going to be right at home with this. It works with Traktor perfectly. There's no latency, and it works just as it should, as it's made by Native Instruments for the Traktor program. So for more on the full written review, you can head on over to www.djboot.net/DJS, or you can click the link at the top of this description, and you can find all of our news, all of our views, and all of our videos, and everything you need on DJ equipment related right there at the djboot.net website. So make sure you come by and check us out. Thanks for watching.